Hello and welcome to the Kanawha Valley Hustlers podcast. This is Joe Justice coming to you again from the office studio. The plan was to be out and to be hustling and interviewing people again for 2025. The plan didn't quite go off because, as you know, if you're in the region, if you're in the Kanawha Valley region, we had a big snowstorm and it really caused things to kind of grind to a halt. So some things got postponed, but don't worry. I'm going to be out there hustling. And it really all works out pretty well because interestingly enough, there was a huge thing that happened yesterday that I'm not sure everybody knows about. So I thought I would bring some of it to some people's attention. It's going to be controversial. I am sure that I am going to get some feedback on it and some people messaging me, some comments, some things happening because it's gonna ruffle some feathers, and my take on it might ruffle your feathers. I want to hear from you if you disagree with me. And what am I talking about? I am talking about Mark Zuckerberg's announcements yesterday. They were huge. And a lot of people are talking about them. If you have business that relies on Facebook or Instagram, WhatsApp, any of those tools, if you create content, if you were around in the past, maybe 10 years ago when you were creating content and things felt like it was a lot easier and it's not quite as easy as it used to be. I want you to listen to what I'm going to tell you and what we're going to talk about a little bit, because if you didn't see the announcement by Mark Zuckerberg, then you're going to find this all pretty interesting. If you did see the announcement, I want to put some of it in context for you. So I'm going to help you out a little bit. So listen to the end, ask me questions, shoot me comments, let me know what you think. I took my notes right here. I watched video. I would encourage you, and I'll put the video in the comments to check out the video. It's only about 5 minutes long. And here's the biggest takeaway at the very end of the video. He said, and I want you to really pay attention to what he says in here. He says in the recent past, Facebook, that's Meta. Meta, by the way, for people that don't know, Meta is the company that was Facebook. Facebook was founded by Mark Zuckerberg, and then they bought Instagram and WhatsApp and some other things over the years, and Oculus and some other things, and they put all of the businesses into an umbrella company of Meta. So that's what Meta is. So if I refer to Meta, but he said that Meta was focused on what? Now listen, this isn't a conspiracy theory or anything else. This is from the man himself, from Mark Zuckerberg. So I really want you to think about this. He said over the last several years, they were focused on taking down content. Okay. Now, that's important to understand. And if you've been around for a little while, you might have even felt this, that, man, things used to be a lot easier. It used to be a lot easier to get seen on Facebook, to get traction. And, I guess people just don't use Facebook anymore, or Facebook isn't popular. It's not exactly what's been going on. So, and Mark kind of talks about this. So first he starts off, I took some notes here, and I just want to kind of lay this out for you. He starts off with good intentions. The idea was that there are bad things that happen on social media platforms. Everything from people selling drugs to human trafficking. And terrible stuff. So people selling things illegally, people doing terrible things. And of course, there's the social contagion aspect of social media where, like Tide Pod challenge type stuff, where you get kids, trying to eat Tide Pods and choking to death and things like that. So he acknowledges that to start the whole thing off, which is good. I think that's valuable. And it's important to understand that there are bad things that happen on social media platforms. But he goes on to talk about how these things are real, but they've been working on creating complex systems that try to moderate these things. And he talks about how basically they're going to be going back to a more simplified content moderation type model, which is a lot more like what it was in the past. To me, and anybody that's in the know, that's followed what's going on most social media platforms over the last 8 years or so will tell you that like this has been an effort. The whole idea of trying to get social media platforms to control and moderate content, not to act as publishers rather than as platforms. And platforms, they operate independently. They don't make any kind of editorial decisions, while publishers are responsible for their content. And the whole idea is social media is a platform. It's not a publisher. They're not supposed to be making decisions on whether or not things are true or not. So, I think it's I think it's a huge deal. Like, I think this is a major inflection point. The fact that he actually came out and said this, admitted to this is the kind of stuff that people have been saying for a long time. And anyways, he says that they're going to simplify the system and they're going to make things a lot easier. Specifically, he goes on to detail a handful of things. Let me just kind of run down. They're going to eliminate fact checkers. Great idea. Bottom line, they're going to go to more what's called a community notes section. I think fact checkers were the beginning of the end for Facebook. It was a terrible idea to set up any kind of a corporate entity as the arbiters of truth. Terrible idea. Community notes are supported by the community, so community can weigh in on whether or not things are true or not. And if more people believe they're true than not, then they win out. Is that a perfect system? Absolutely not. But humans don't have perfect systems. So, but the idea of giving an authority to some kind of corporation that was insane. I can't believe they did that for so many years. And they've definitely learned that it was wrong. They're going to eliminate restrictions on controversial subjects. So there's a handful, he lists some of them in there. There's a handful of controversial subjects that they have definitely throttled in the past. They're going to focus on crime and illegal activity. This is the whole thing. This is whenever you get into moderation, all of these other things, you should moderate to eliminate criminal activity. That's a great idea. If there's violence, if there's bullying, if there's human trafficking, if there's these horrible things, doing crimes, like break-in robberies. People use social media platforms to find out where to rob. Like, that stuff should be focused on. The problem is whenever you make certain topics off limits, then it immediately starts becoming politicized, like immediately. So they're going to quit focusing on that type of stuff, on controversial subjects, and they're going to start focusing on crime and illegal activity, which I think is great. And then they're going to bring back civic content, which is his way of saying they're going to allow politics. So most people don't know this. This is all kind of shadow banny type stuff. But over the last 8 years or so, if you post any kind of political content, you would get kind of shadow banned on Meta platforms, and they would limit your reach. And if you created material that accidentally got flagged as political, well, there's nothing you can do about it. The AI that they're using said it was political, so you're just out of luck. And then the biggest thing that I just can't believe is they're moving their content review and safety board to Texas. They're moving it out of California. So he's definitely making a big move there and admitting that there's something strange going on in California, that they're focusing on all of these controversial subjects rather than focusing on crime, which is just bizarre to me. And he mentioned something super controversial, the fact that worldwide there's incredible efforts to punish social media platforms. In South America, there are secret courts that punish social media. In China, the apps aren't even allowed. They're completely banned. And in Europe, increasingly, it's becoming, there's law after law after law to limit social media and to punish people who use social media in what the government deems to be an incorrect way. So those are all scary movements for social media. And it looks like Mark is taking it all seriously and is starting to move away from it. And this is, before you say anything, doesn't have anything to do with politics. This is cultural movements, and this is, it's the old legacy up against new media. And at the end of the day, I think it's all going to be great moves. Lots of terrible things are going to happen as far as like discourse. You're going to maybe start seeing stuff in your feed that you didn't like. So, ideas that you don't like. If you're an atheist, you'll start seeing stuff from Christians. If you're a Christian, you'll start seeing stuff by atheists. If you're a Republican, you'll start seeing stuff by Democrats. And if you're a Democrat, you'll start seeing stuff by Republicans. And I think that's great. I think that's exactly the way we should be. And for marketing purposes, I think it'll make the ecosystem much friendlier and much easier to use. And we've got a real opportunity to reach audiences a lot easier, because you don't have to do all this little tactical stuff to try to get underneath and beneath all of these controversial subjects. And you can just speak honestly and freely and let the market decide. And I think that's exactly what you want. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be ugly things that happen. And I think we can all agree that focusing efforts on illegal activity is the right way to go. So I think we can all agree on that at the very least. Let's quit focusing on whether or not people are posting controversial memes, and let's focus on whether or not people are engaged in human trafficking. I think we can all agree that's a good step forward, and it's coming from Mark Zuckerberg. We'll see what'll happen. It'll be a big thing over the next several months, and we're going to see what 2025 is going to bring us. Until next week, when I will hopefully the snow will let up, and I'll be out there getting more interviews of people hustling in the Kanawha Valley. Let me know what you think in the comments. Send me a message. Let me know what you think of what's going on with Mr. Zuckerberg. If you're happy about it, if you're mad about it, if you don't quite understand it, if I didn't explain it very well, let me know, and I'll talk to you next time. Remember, this is Joe Justice, the Kanawha Valley Hustler, reminding you to hustle hard, hustle smart, and hustle with a smile.